This is Jake with Buckeye Bushcraft back here again with another video. I figured I would start a small little mini series on Bowdrill. My buddy Joe Price from In Forest and Lands recently did a really good Bowdrill series talking about the major parts of Bowdrill and how to circumvent some problems here and there. So I would highly recommend you go check out his series, tell him I sent you. But what I'm going to do is I want to show you guys small tips and tricks whenever you're doing friction fire that will really help you out as far as being able to read your set and tell whether or not it's going to make a coal. For those of you who don't know, I am a wilderness skills instructor, so I have done friction fire in pretty much almost every environment you can imagine and taught hundreds of people from around the world on friction fire. It's one of my favorite things to teach because getting a bow drill or a hand drill ember or a pump drill ember, that is such a huge milestone in that person's journey into the world of wilderness skills. So again, I like to be part of that process. What I would do today is go over how to read dust color. Now, your dust color on your set will tell you a lot of different things. It will tell you how much downward pressure you're putting down, how much speed you need to put down, whether or not your set is wet, and also whether or not your set is too green or too hard. So our goal today is not really to get an ember, but I want to show you the different types of dust collars, be able to see when I go to make the certain collar of dust or the certain consistency of the dust, what I am doing in order to do that, okay? So let me move the camera here close and we'll get to it. Okay, so I kind of got you guys on the packed down snow because it's a little bit easier to film for me. Got my bow, got a few goodies in here. There's my spindle. There is a dog bane bow drill string that I made earlier today. Toss that aside. Some stone tools, toss those aside. Bearing block. Here's my board for this application. There's really no need for me to go out and make a set off the landscape because I could show you what I need to show you off of an already used board. That one's actually been split because I split a hand drill board off of that as well. Because I'm going to go ahead and make a divot in here with my blade. Actually, I'm going to make two of them so I can show you guys the different consistencies of dust and all that good stuff, and we'll get to it. Now I can show you this first part just with the burn in. So go ahead and make sure we have good form. Pop our spindle into our bow. I like a really long spindle because I'm a tall guy. Allows my diaphragm to open up and me actually breathe. Okay. Go ahead and do the burn in on this. Okay, so I'm burnt in. Now what I can do is I can take a look at the consistency of this dust and the color of it. So if you look at this dust, it's kind of clumped up and it's got a coffee ground color. What that tells me was that is the perfect speed and the perfect downward pressure that I need. I'm gonna go ahead and burn in another hole. We'll cut a notch in both of them so I can show you the difference between bad dust and good dust. Little tip I can give you, since we're just right here doing it, whenever you are getting set up for your bow drill, it's very important that you have proper posture whenever you do this, because if not, you're going to wear yourself out. Okay, I like to get my foot as close to the notch as I can without the bow hitting my boot. I usually use a pretty tall spindle, so I don't have to worry about that height right there. Whenever you go to do this, I see a lot of people will do this right here. You want to tuck your arm or your wrist up against your shin, and you're using your shin to control, number one, the direction that you want your spindle to go, the downward pressure and all that. So you're using your foot as a pivot point, and you're using your whole body to put pressure and take off pressure. So just something to think about there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get set up. You want to keep the spindle as straight up and down as you possibly can. This one is a little bit crooked. Once you see that stuff start to spit out the front of your notch right there, I've got a little bit more to go. That's whenever you can hit it a little harder. Just like that, okay? Go ahead and put that out. I just want you guys to see this dust right here. Dump that dust down right there. Readjust my spindle, go for the second hole here real fast, and get a collar dust that you do not want for your ember. Alrighty. Got another ember right there. Snuff him out. Now let's talk about it. But if you look at the first one we did, this stuff is kind of a coffee ground collar in consistency, okay? There's not a ton of big black slivers in there. The second one we did has a lot of these big black slivers that you can see, just like that. That is what you do not want if you are doing bow drill. You can see over here we got kind of the finer dust coffee collar. We got the black slivers. Now you're probably saying, Jake, how does that help me if I'm doing bow drill? What does that have to do with anything? Well, depending on the color of your dust, it tells you everything you need to know while you're doing the bow drill, while you're actively doing it. Or if you don't get it, you can look at it and say, that's what I was doing wrong. So the first one we did, the coffee ground collar, right? Created an ember, no problem. It was that light or in dark coffee ground collar mix, and it was also clumpy. If you notice, whenever it was coming out of the notch, it was coming out in clumps. It doesn't just come out in powder. That tells me that the speed and the downward pressure was perfect. All right. If you start to get these long black slivers, that's going to tell you two things: to lay off the downward pressure and to lay off a bit of the speed. It's mainly contributed to the downward pressure because you're really hammering and pushing down on that spindle in order to get enough dust collected in that. And if you don't get it, usually you'll have a bunch of dust hop up on the top of your board, and you'll be able to tell what you're doing wrong as far as the speed and downward pressure. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see beginners make. They want to go too hard, too fast. Remember, your goal is to fill up this notch, and you're not really lighting it until about the last 20 or 30 seconds. So whenever you're filling that up, it's going to smoke. It's going to start to get hot. Your goal is to just fill up that notch. And when you start to see that stuff puking out over top of the stuff you've already piled up, that's when it's ready to light. And that's when you hit it really hard for 20 to 30 seconds, maintaining control, putting a little bit more downward pressure and a little bit more speed on it. That's what lights it. If you are doing the bow drill and you're getting these long black slivers off of it, what's happening is you're burning up the material before it even gets to the notch. So it will still light in some cases, but it's a lot more difficult to light that than it is with the correct color dust. With the black sliver dust is what I call it, the SD, sliver dust. So with the SD, or the sliver dust, it's burning up that material a lot faster. And whenever you get into your notch, your heat or your ember has no fuel to fuel it because the stuff is already burnt up. Now, like I said, you can definitely still get it. I still got an ember off of it. Not a big deal, but it's a lot easier if you just do it the right way the first time. So this is just a small little helpful tip that I wish somebody had told me whenever I started doing bow drill many years ago. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is, like I said, they go too hard, too fast. They get excited. They want to get their ember. And then they start, going at it really hard and getting out of breath and all that. And then their spindle flies off. Then they start to get mad, okay? Maintain control and posture. read your dust collar. If you're down there doing the bow drill and you see it's throwing these big, massive slivers up on the top of your board, you know automatically you need to let off the pressure a little bit and lay off the speed to go a little bit slower, okay? And if it's throwing out dust that's too light, that is not as dark as the coffee ground collar, you don't have enough downward pressure. So you need to put a little bit more on it to change that collar to that dark brown consistency. I know my hat is kind of like a burgundy, but you kind of want it like this collar right here is really what you're looking for. And just some helpful little bow drill tips. I'm going to make this a little mini series, show you guys some small tips or tricks that may not seem like they make a difference, but when you're actually doing it, they make a world of difference. Again, like I said, my buddy Joe Price from Forest and Lands has a really, really good bow drill series out right now, where he talks about how long your spindle should be, the different styles, all that stuff. But again, friction fire is one of those things to where you have to tailor it to yourself. What works for me will not work for you, and vice versa, okay? So I've been teaching friction fire for many years now. I've done hundreds and hundreds of bow drills and hand drills. Hundreds of students, bow drill, hand drill, pump drill, all that good stuff. So these are just some, again, these are just some small helpful tips that I like to teach in my classes that really help the students out. One last thing before I hop off here, I forgot to say this in my last video. We have 3 classes coming up in the spring, are located here at Chesapeake, Ohio on my school property. It'll be myself, Kenny Dietrich from Ugly Tent, Sean Kelly, Corporal's Corner, everyone knows, and then EJ Snyder from Naked and Afraid, Dual Survival. He's been on a bunch of TV shows. These spots are limited to 40 people per class, and they are filling up very fast. So if you want to come train with one of us and come get some dirt time over the weekend to test some skills out and test yourself, it's a really, really good series of classes for you to come to. If you guys want to see more of this stuff right here, go to my Instagram page and follow me at Buckeye_Bushcraft. I post on there almost daily, and a lot of it is more skills related than anything else. A lot of it is more primitive skills, paleo style based stuff, stone tools, friction fires, hide bags. I've got all kinds of stuff on there, all kinds of different videos, but I post on there almost every single day. So if you guys, I understand if you don't have Instagram, but this day and age, it's kind of a note. I don't really have a choice, but I really do like Instagram platform. So if you guys aren't following me over there, go check me out, and I'm sure I'll have something on there you enjoy. So hopefully next time you do bow drill, this is something that you notice, and hopefully you learned something new from this video. This is just a small little trick that I like to teach, and yeah, see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.